Luis Carlos Pereira of Colombia. Toss for the choice of kickoff or half. The United States official Angelo Abraxas and his two American linesmen get ready to officiate in what will certainly be one of the biggest matches that they will ever have experienced. Oleg Protasov of the Soviet Union, a prolific scorer for club and country, scored 35 goals in a league season for Dynamo Kiev a few years back. And most of this Soviet is based on the highly successful Dynamo Kiev club side, and it's very close to their strongest possible lineup, the lineup which of course took them all the way to the final of the 1988 European Championships, where they lost to Holland. Handshakes all round for the officials, and as I was saying, it's a very big day for them. They certainly won't be used to controlling a match of this kind of status. Big crowd here, a lot Central and South American population here in California. And here's one of the real characters of the Colombian side, Rene Higuita, the goalkeeper. Number 11 there is one of their top scorers, Miguel Guerrero. And he actually takes the place in this lineup of probably Colombia's most famous player and their biggest star, Valderrama, absent from this lineup. But otherwise, it's pretty much the team which took Colombia to their only second appearance in the World Cup finals. They'll be playing in Group D, incidentally, in Italy, against West Germany, Yugoslavia, and the United Arab Emirates. The Soviet Union in Group B will play Argentina, Romania, and Cameroon. Though the crowd may look a little sparse, it's a huge stadium, this, of course, and really there's quite a volatile public here to watch this match, and I suspect most of them will be behind the Colombians, who are playing in the yellow jerseys and blue shorts and attacking from right to left in this first half. Viktor Chanov in goal for the Soviet Union, bowling the ball out to Zigmantovic on that far side. Yaremchuk dispossessed, but gets the ball back again. And number 4 is Zigmantovic, one of the newer players in the Soviet side, one or two of their European Championship side absent from this lineup. But basically this is very close to the strong Soviet team. It's a good ball forward for Chernenkov. Yaremchuk on the far side, a good challenge though by Rincon. And Colombia get the ball back, but not for long. But wait, it breaks kindly for them. But out of play for a throw-in. Guerrero unable to keep it in play. The pitch, a strange mixture, as you can see. Obviously used for American football usually, home of the Los Angeles Raiders. And certain parts of the pitch not up to the usual standard, but certainly the spectators are up to a very high standard. As Colombia break again. Number 10, Radin. 7 is Rincon. And a nice piece of skill. Cabrera on the right. Yaremchuk, the Soviet player. And back it goes to Radin. The challenge by Besanov, one of the best known of the lineup. And the long-haired Cabrera playing the ball back to Pereira. And now to Gomez. And that's a good little ball from Gomez, but just a little bit too strong, perhaps. And Chanov, the long-time stand-in to Dasayev, the Soviet #1 goalkeeper, collects with ease. Perfect conditions here. And that was rather a late challenge on Yaremchuk by... Forward from Kuznetsov, the little downward header by Protasov. And back it goes to the tall number 10. That's a useful looking little ball as well. Rodionov was the target, but Colombia deal with it quite capably. And back in it comes from Zigmantovic. Litovchenko unable to keep it in play. Throw-in will be taken by number 4, Luis Fernando Herrera. In fact, the referee has awarded a free kick by the looks of it. probably for offside. Number 2 is Alexis Mendoza. 3, Gilado Gomez. And the very distinctive long-haired figure of Lionel Alves. Rincon. Alvarez. Given away rather clumsily to Yaremchuk. That's a useful ball. Rodionov playing it forward to Litovchenko. Good play by Litovchenko. And Kuznetsov just gets the ball clear. The Soviets, a very well-drilled team. One remembers well their European Championship campaign. Their coach, Valery Lobanovsky, a real student of the game, and studies in great depth training techniques and tactical maneuvers. Here's one man who's not a great tactician, Higuita, this rather bizarre Colombia. But I'm sure we'll see some of his wilder antics later in this game, because he very rarely goes through a match without producing some talking point. And here's Rincon. Forward from Gomez, not a good ball. Guerrero unable to control it. Back it comes to Alvarez. And played back by Pereira. Higuita already outside his penalty area to feed Herrera. Now number 8, Cabrera. Gomez. Good play there by Guerrero. Cabrera. On the right is Herrera. And now number 10, Redin. Good run by Gomez in the middle. And Redin tried the shot, and back it comes to him again. And another shot rebounds off the Soviet defensive wall. Got a huge roar of delight when Colombia are on the attack here from the expatriate supporters in the crowd. Alvarez. Back again to Pereira. Herrera. And still, this is a fine run by Herrera. Danger. Shchanov reacted to very quickly. Rodionov now. Good ball for Litovchenko, and that's a fine ball down the right. Now there's plenty in the middle here, and it's a good little ball, and Rodionov gets on the end of it, and that could have been a goal easily. Higuita did well. And the Soviets might well have taken the lead in the 7th minute of the game. It was a very incisive move. It was a glorious ball by Litovchenko down the right-hand side. And Higuita had to really react quickly then to deny Rodionov. Well, Colombia could have been shaken then with a very early goal against. Still 0-0 then, and the Colombians come forward. Good chase by the number 9, Iguaran. And good play then by Luzny for the Soviet Union. I think he was fouled as well as the ball was knocked back to his goalkeeper, but the referee has allowed play to go on now with Yaremchuk. This is Kuznetsov. Besanov and Litovchenko. Good ball forward by Rodionov, but well cleared, and no problem for Higuita, who has been known to come so far out of his penalty area. He's actually reached the halfway line with the ball at his feet on occasions. Also takes penalties occasionally for Colombia, and generally acts in a most unusual manner. Luzny. Dispossessed by Gomez. Rodionov, who missed that early chance for the Soviet Union. Number 2 here, Besanov. Cherenkov finding Yaremchuk. Touched on again by Cherenkov. But Colombia quite sound at the back. This Colombian team have had a lot of experience of playing top international teams in recent years. You may remember in 1988 they went over to Great Britain to play in the Rouse Cup, where they played both England and Scotland and drew with both of them, as Higuita proves the point I was making earlier about his willingness to make long safaris from his own penalty area. It was a good challenge then. Yes, Colombia did very well drawing at Wembley and Hampden Park against the English and the Scots. 2 good results for them. And they certainly built upon that in their World Cup qualifying group. And they proved themselves pretty capable of keeping possession. Gomez. Haven't scored many goals, that's certainly been one of their failings. And with Dan Valderrama missing, the likelihood of them scoring a lot of goals here is even less, I would think. And that's a foul. And the referee sternly moves over to administer the rebuke. You see again exactly what happened here. Ball played forward by Litovchenko. He just lost possession and then really caught Redin as he tried to get... Pereira. Cabrera. Gomez. Forward by Alvarez. That's a good ball as well to Herrera on the right. Cabrera takes over. Rincon, good little ball. Cabrera infield. He was trying to find the number 10 Redin, and it comes to nothing. Good break this by the Soviets, but they just simply didn't have enough players forward, and Cherenkov was easily dispossessed. 11 minutes gone, still the Soviet Union 0, Colombia 0 here in the Marlboro Cup, the opening match in Los Angeles. Costa Rica, the other World Cup qualifiers involved in this tournament, remember, plus the Mexican club side Chivas of Guadalajara. Protasov couldn't quite make the room for himself, but he's done pretty well here. Oh, and Rodionov was screaming for the ball to be played, but he never quite saw him quickly enough. And Gomez headed behind for the first corner of the game, which goes to the Soviet Union. Gildado Gomez alive to the danger. Rodionov here, the number 11, had pulled away into a nice position, was screeching for the ball, I'm sure. But Gomez happy to concede the corner. Too deep and headed away by Pereira, but only as far on that far side as Vasily Rats, and then Protasov went down, but no free kick given. Kuznetsov. Zigmantovic. And here he is again, Higuita, coming far out of his area to head the ball clear, and he could be in trouble if he's here. Rodionov realised that, but couldn't deliver an accurate enough chip. Litovchenko forward. That's a great ball by Litovchenko, turned on by Cherenkov, And a rather wild clearance, and Higuita had to come and claim it again and did well. He's a good goalkeeper, if prone to some moments of madness, but here's a good moment for Colombia. Redin played it too deep and played it too early, surely. But they keep possession. Alvarez. And the free kick given for the foul by Zigmantovic. I think the Colombians would have preferred the referee to have waved play on then. Guerrero and Redin, the two players over the ball for this Colombian free kick. Looks as though Guerrero might have a crack. Way out. And straight at the wall. Alvarez. Gomez. Too easy for Viktor Chanov, who was reserve keeper for the Soviets in both the 82 and the 86 World Cup finals, and will likely be so again in Italy this year. Gomez. Alvarez. Good challenge by Besanov. And the referee didn't like the look of that tackle, and I don't blame him. Rodionov limps away, knowing he's won the free kick, and the referee's going to call a Rincon towards him, and indeed, the yellow card. So Rincon becomes the first player to be cautioned by referee Bratsis. "15 minutes gone. Still, the Soviet Union 0, Colombia 0 in this Marlborough Cup competition. Litovchenko couldn't keep it in. Gomez with the throw. Mendoza. Back it comes to the Soviets. Nice little ball in field, and good play here by Cherenkov. Oh. He might have gone alone then. He decided to be unselfish and turn it back, but played it actually in behind Rodionov and Protasov, and suddenly the Colombians get a break at the other end. Well read by Chanov. But the USSR have had two very useful attacks now, either of which could easily have produced a goal. And now they'll get a free kick, I think, for that challenge. Referee Bratsis treating this very seriously, as you might expect. And that early yellow card will have indicated to the players that he'll stand for no nonsense here. Besanov. Herrera, the defender, and he did well. Gomez. Guerrero was fouled, no question. Luzny the culprit. Good play by Rincon. Oh, he certainly likes to have a crack, Rincon. He was a bit optimistic then, in all truth, but big and strong. Guerrero was not the player who had the shot then, although he was involved in the build-up. Headed away by Perea. Rodionov dispossessed, but the Soviets win it back. Rodionov. And a useful little ball for Litovchenko, but got that all wrong, really. Gennady Litovchenko, former Soviet Footballer of the Year. These two countries, incidentally, have met only twice before throughout their entire football history. and the Soviet Union won one of those games, the other was drawn. Over the head of Zigmantovic. Guerrero. Oh, good play. Redin. Tackled by Luzny. Redin. And can't just let it go. Ferreira. And now Gomez. 2 is Mendoza. And this is Pereira. Cabrera. Well, they're certainly useful at keeping possession, the Colombians, but how much progress they're making is questionable. The Soviets play the ball around a lot frequently, but do look a lot more incisive, as indeed they do now. Rodinov's in the middle here in a good position, and he controlled it, but not well enough. Gomez. Rincon dispossessed, and then gets it back again, but once more the ball's taken from him. He's big and strong though, and will keep battling away for it. And the Colombians win the ball back now with Cabrera. That's a good ball as well. Played in behind Cabrera. Well, had it been played into his path, he might have had a chance to shoot then. Alvarez claiming that the ball was won quite legitimately, but the referee has given the free kick to the USSR. Indirect. Play a little bit scrappy in these opening stages, and that was rather a late challenge. And the referee's having a word with the long-haired Alvarez. Free kick to the Soviet Union. 20 minutes gone, it's still 0-0 here. Litovchenko in possession. Good play by Redin, but the ball was won back from him by Luzny, who, according to the referee, fouled in order to do so. Redin. Terrible ball by Redin. Rats on the far side. And he gets it back. Yaremchuk. Good play by Herrera. Alvarez. Guerrero did well to make the space, and it's a decent effort. The first Colombian shot of any real note. On target, but also straight at goalkeeper Viktor Chanov. And Higuita again, quite prepared to come to the edge area to collect that ball. Nice piece of play by Alvarez, but then he gave the ball straight to Luzny. And the fullback making a strong and determined run, and has ensured that the throw has gone to the Soviet Union. And Luzny gets it back again. And the referee's given a foul. Felt he might really have let play go on then, because Luzny was in possession and the Soviets were in quite a strong position. no question, I think that this was a foul, because the elbow came round, although Alvarez may have argued that it was quite accidental, because he was turning to try and head the ball. Ball could bounce, certainly, and crack straight in the back of, I think it's Protasov, it is. And both players got injured. Well, Protasov doesn't look too keen to continue here. Very important man he's going to be in the Soviet challenge for the World Cup. And Alvarez, equally so, I would think, for the Colombians. Certainly not one of the most powerful South American footballing nations, Colombia, when you compare them to the likes of Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay, all of whom will be favoured to make progress to the second phase of the World Cup finals. But Colombia, I should think, have a reasonable bet. Their opening match is against the United Arab Emirates, so that gives them the opportunity for an early couple of points. Then they've got to play West Germany and Yugoslavia, and, well, who knows, if they could get a draw out of at least one of those, they could go through. But I guess you'd have to say the West Germans and the Yugoslavs would be favourites to qualify from Group D, based in Milan and Bologna. That's where Colombia will be playing their games. And their opener against the United Arab Emirates to be played on June the 9th, one of the earliest games in the tournament. Gomez. Kuznetsov easily dispossessed Redin. Free kick to the Soviets. Litovchenko. Bernardo Redin. Alvarez just helping it back to Higuita. Redin. Foul by Luzny. And not for the first time, the referee had to have a word with Oleg Luzny, the playing it right back for the Soviet team. Well, it's pretty neat and attractive football from Colombia here, but it certainly lacks sting. And that shot was always way off target, not likely to trouble Viktor Chanov. The number 9, Arnaldo Duran. And there's Valery Lobanovsky, the head coach, the rather studious, somber figure. And not many people have been seen wearing a woolly hat in Los Angeles at this time of the year. Strange clearance that was by Litovchenko. Straight back into the danger zone. Vasily control it. And Yaremchuk did well, came a long way back to win the ball. Soviets will be making their 7th appearance in the World Cup finals. Although they've never done particularly well, always a bit of a mystery really, the Soviets. Particularly in recent years, they've had a very solid team who've Scored some spectacular goals that haven't always looked that sound defensively. And you always think that they're likely to have the prospect of going further than they actually do. Still, the team having been built, or this team having been built on the basis of the side which reached the European Championship final in 1988, perhaps they've got one of their best ever chances of progress in the finals. Always lack a bit of the glamour that attaches to the likes of Italy and Germany and Brazil and Argentina and England perhaps, but nonetheless a redoubtable team, always the Soviets, extremely hard to beat, extremely well drilled and well disciplined, and some talented players. And there certainly will be an interesting group as Besanov chases this one into the corner. Cherenkov and Alvarez deserved the applause of the crowd then for that good piece of play. Overdid it a little bit, but gets the free kick. He was leaned on by Luzny. Yes, it'll certainly be a group worth watching, the Soviet one. Argentina, Soviet Union, that's going to be one of the big games of the tournament early on. The Romanians, always a good side as well, and Cameroon, the African group. There won't be any easy points in that group. Danger here now as Rincon peeled himself away and screamed for the ball from Redin, but didn't get it quickly enough. Rodionov with the run, and that's a goal kick. Half an hour of the still the Soviet Union 0, Colombia 0. And remember, you're watching the opening match of the 1990 Marlborough Cup between the Soviet Union in the red vests and the yellow-shirted Colombians. A 4-team international tournament, also including Costa Rica and Chivas Guadalajara, who are a top club side in Mexico. Apart from the opening matches in the groups, or rather in the tournament, there'll be a playoff for third place and the final. And we hope you'll follow the whole tournament through here on Screen Sport. Guerrero just turned into trouble. Rats leaves it to Rodionov. One back by Pereira. Redin. Kuznetsov. Zigmantovic. Well, the crowd wanting action. You can sense that they're really behind the Colombians. And that's the Colombian coach, Francisco Maturana, who, apart from being an ex-player and coach of Nacional, the leading club side in Colombia, as well as the national team, he's also, would you believe, a qualified dentist. I suppose that might have some uses in the football world. This is Gomez, given away. Guerrero does well here. Crowd wanting him to go all the way. He thought about it and finally gets the shot in. Oh, it was surprising how much room he was given them by the Soviet defenders. And Miguel Guerrero had one of the best efforts of the game. Oh, including the experienced Kuznetsov, the number 13, but the shot wasn't good enough. So it certainly livened up the crowd now. Will it, I wonder, liven up the game, which has been a bit low-key so far. Gomez. And Higuita gets another kick, and he loves those. Loves to get involved in the game, that goalkeeper. He's not one of those goalkeepers who likes to be out of action for long periods, certainly. Turned forward then by Rincon, and Cabrera did well. Would have gone over the line, had it, or did he foul the Soviet defender? Judging by the reaction of the crowd, the free kick will go against Cabrera, and indeed it has. And this is why. Rather keep it in play initially. Well, looked a bit harsh to me. Looked as though the Soviet player had really turned his back into that tackle. Rats walks away, and no one's quite sure what the referee has given in the end. Colombia have the ball back with Guerrero. And now with Rincon. And now with Redin. Cabrera gets it back again. Good play by Rincon. Obstruction at the very least. In fact, it may well be a direct free kick. The referee hasn't raised his arm, so I suspect this will be a direct free kick in a good position here, and it was clearly a foul. Higuaín, who scored 4 of Colombia's 6 goals in their qualifying matches for the World Cup finals, but hasn't really looked that dangerous thus far in this game. Certainly this will be a useful moment for the Colombians to get in front here. 9 minutes to go to half-time. Well, the crowd oohed and ahed, but in truth it was rather a paltry effort, well off target by the tall defender Perea. So the game remains at 0-0. Luzhny for the Soviet Union. Given away to Gomez. Rincon, that's a good little ball forward. Gomez with the shot. Well, had he tried to pull it back to his teammate on the far post, Gildardo Gomez might have found himself the hero rather than the villain of the piece then. Rincon forcing the ball through. Gomez shot. It was, I guess, worth it, but there were 2 players running in who were better placed. So although these had 2 reasonably clear chances in this half, the Colombians have produced more goal-scoring attempts, there's no doubt about it. Litovchenko sliding it down the line. And Zygmuntovic makes sure that he forced the error from Mendoza. Throw into the Soviet Union. Litovchenko wants to take it. And gets it back, rather fortunately. And now Cherenkov, good challenge though. Higuaín forward. Rincon just laying it off to Herrera. And play a little bit scrappy in the middle of the field at the moment. Mendoza forward. Confirmation of the score with 6 minutes to go now to half-time. USSR 0, Colombia 0 in the first game in the 1990 Colombia Cup, the first ever Colombia Cup being won by Uruguay. Oh, and the crowd loving this one. And the free kick given for the challenge by Kuznetsov. That's as he claimed that he'd reasonably enough won the ball. Certainly a smashing run by Herrera, the fullback. Let's see if the Colombians can make rather more of this free kick than the previous one. Rincon in the middle, again well placed, but the cross wasn't quite good enough. Cabrera, the player who turned it in. Corner. Useful one. Rincon got ahead to it. And that looks like a goal kick, indeed it is. Soviets seem to be one of these teams that are quite happy to let the opposition have possession, as long as they don't get into the final third of the field. Better known, I guess, as a counter-attacking team, the Soviet Union, and that was certainly how they got many of their goals in the European Championships. I can remember some spectacular efforts, particularly from Vasily Rats, the number 6, who's had a quiet game so far today, but really renowned for some of his long-range efforts. This is Cabrera for Colombia. Rincon. Good little ball forward for Guerrero, but that's a throw. Four minutes now, a little under to half-time. The first half remains goalless. Zigmantovic, and he gets it back again. The ball won Alvarez, and the referee's given a free kick, which seemed a bit harsh to me. Foul on Zigmantovic. Besanov takes the kick and helped out to the far side to Yaremchuk. Back in from Kuznetsov. And that was rather a wasted corner by Gomez. He had a lot more time than that, but couldn't really have got a shout from his goalkeeper, Higuita. From memory, I've only had one corner so far in the half, and this one comes 3 minutes from the interval. Rats to take it. Driven in and punched clear by Higuita, and the long-range shot could have gone anywhere and still could. Back it comes to Rats, in fact. Headed away by Pereira. And Alvarez, who thought about letting the ball run to his goalkeeper, thought better of it, and now turns it back to him. Good play by Lionel Alvarez, and an injury here. Besanov, who's had so many injuries in his career, broken leg and knee injuries. He's still down on the ground as players continued here. Cherenkov. And back it comes to him. Number 4 is Zigmantovic. And the referee's given the free kick to and it looks like a pretty bad injury. Certainly Besanov has gone off for the moment, and with so little of the first half remaining, the Soviets may decide to stay down to 10 men and see if they can successfully treat him during the half-time interval. There doesn't seem much point in making the substitution now, with only a minute of the half remaining. So for the moment, the Soviet Union down to 10 men. Alvarez for Colombia. 3 is Gomez. And again. Good run by Gomez. Rincon helps him out. Manredin. Crowd love that. But again, the cross at the end of it was rather poor. Colombians obviously enjoy a little bit of magic on the ball, but at the end of it all, it wasn't quite magic enough, and they go off at half-time goalless. The crowd didn't really see many clear-cut chances. The Soviets, more incisive team than Colombia, but at the end of it all, neither of them really tested the opposition goalkeeper. Half-time score, Colombia 0, USSR 0 here in the Marlboro Cup in Los Angeles. Back for more action in the second half. Welcome back to the Los Angeles Coliseum for the second half of Colombia against the Soviet Union in the Marlboro Cup. A very colourful spectator is catching up with the news from the rest of the football world during the half-time interval. And sadly, the half that preceded it, not the most entertaining perhaps, although there were some good moments and both teams could have found the target, but 0-0 the score. A very Mexican flavour amongst the crowd. A lot of Mexicans, of course, living in this part of California, and quite a few expatriate Colombians amongst the crowd sporting their yellow and blue flags. I wouldn't think there's too many for Union here to support the other team. And the Soviets in the red shirts and white shorts have made one substitution during the half-time interval. You may remember Besanov, the experienced veteran international defender, going off injured just before half-time. Well, he hasn't been able to take his place for the second half, and Vadim Tishenko, wearing number 15, is on in his place and presumably will slot into the back four. Referee Bratsis from the United States gets the proceedings underway in the second half. Colombia in the yellow shirts and blue shorts, attacking from left to right. This is Kuznetsov for the Soviet Union. 9 is Yaremchuk. Won back well by Herrera, who had a reasonably good first half for the Colombians in the right-back position. 6 is Rats. 0-0, remember. And if you joined us late, can I remind you that this is a 4-team international tournament. The two sides in opposition here, the in Colombia, also Costa Rica, and Chivas from Guadalajara, one of the top Mexican club sides completing the quartet. They'll obviously play each other, and then there's a match for third-place playoff before the actual final to decide the winners of the second Marlboro Cup, Uruguay having won the first time the competition was staged. And incidentally, should the teams be level here at the end of 90 minutes, then the game would be just on a penalty shootout, the usual format. 5 penalties per side, and if they were still level, then it would go to a sudden death. Perea for Colombia. And one of the better efforts in the first half, a header just wide and then is brought down. The captain of Colombia, and Rincon gives the ball away. Yaremchuk. Rodionov. It's a good little ball in field to Zigmantovic, who finds Yaremchuk. Now Rodionov again. The cross headed clear by Mendoza. And Protasov couldn't control it quickly enough. A rather rash challenge by the Subchenko, but he got away with it. Kuznetsov now. Zigmantovic forward, asking Protasov to chase. And Gomez gets there first. And gets it back again. Alvarez. Good play by Redin. Perea. 8 is Cabrera. And now Redin. Good tackle. And Yaremchuk just helping it back to Viktor Chanov. Poor kick by the Soviet number 2 choice international keeper. Sergei Rodionov playing up front for the Soviets today in this strong USSR lineup. Most of the squad from the 1988 European Championships here for this tournament, and this virtually a full-strength Soviet lineup. They've got a free kick, Vasily Rats, who played in the 1986 World Cup finals. Had a short spell then in Europe, playing for Espanyol in Spain before going back to the Soviet Union. Decent free kick and a good effort as well by Protasov. Higuita right behind it though. Cabrera. And a wasted clearance by Cabrera gives the Soviets possession again. Protasov playing it forward, but rather aimlessly. Higuita, like several others in the Colombian team, have actually been the subject of death threats back home. A weird and wonderful atmosphere the Colombians play their football in. There have been allegations that Colombian club sides have been involved in whoops, a mistake there by Higuita, so hold on for a moment. There's the rather wild shot by Cherenkov. Placed the ball boys rather in more danger than the goal. Mistake by Higuita really, which led to that opening. Should have picked that one up with ease and flapped at it. Cherenkov was so surprised, I just couldn't keep his shot down. And I was saying there have been allegations that the Colombian club teams in their national division have been involved in drug trafficking, would you believe? And there have been all kinds of follow-ups, of course, to that particular allegation. And a lot of the Colombian national team, coached by Maturana here, have been the subject of death threats back home from the Colombian-style mafia. Free kick to the Americans. Won back well by the Soviet skipper Kuznetsov. But back it comes now to Cabrera. Well, that's good play by the number 9, Iguaran. Alvarez gives it away to Rodionov. And helped back by Tishenko to his goalkeeper. There was a bit of a dispute about whether that was the right thing to do. Yaremchuk did well to keep it. Now Rats, good play. And certainly a bit more pace about the game in this second half, and that rather disappointing first. Nil-nil still the score. It's a useful little ball. Luzny. Good overlapping run here by Luzny. And he did well to keep it in play. Clever little ball. Litovchenko. And then, oh, it was just a bit too far ahead of Protasov. No problem really for Higuita. Herrera. Well done. And suddenly Rodionov in the clear. And Rodionov might well have given the Soviets the lead then. Yaremchuk, the number 9, had done well in the opening stages of that move to win the ball back. And that was a lovely little ball by Yaremchuk. Just helped on by Protasov. Rodionov had a sight of goal, kept his shot low but wide. So in the early stages of both the first and second half, Sergei Rodionov has had the arguably best chances of the game in which to open the scoring. Luzny. Surely offside. Well, astonishingly, it wasn't given, and the goalkeeper came out and could pay the price. No, he's all right. The defender back to help out. Well, a little bizarre period of play. And finally, the spectacular Rene Higuita gets away with it again. Although, to be fair to him on that occasion, he had to come all the way from his goal, otherwise surely a goal would have resulted. Colombians happy to get away with conceding the corner, which Litovchenko will take. No, it's Rats, in fact, who's gone out there. Difficult in-swinger. Higuita had a bit of trouble dealing with it. Goal kick. Well, he certainly doesn't fulfill any of the usual coaching manual thoughts about goalkeeping, Rene Higuita, but he's pretty effective and he's certainly an entertainer. Gomez. And that was a foul, no question, by the substitute, I think, wasn't it? Tishenko, yes. And indeed, he's going to be cautioned for that. So one player from each team shown the yellow card. Rincon in the first half of Colombia now. The substitute Tishenko, who's only been on for, well, less than 10 minutes. Colombia in possession now with Cabrera. And now Herrera. Rincon. It's Colombia's throw. Herrera to take it. Well, that looked like a foul, surely, and given in the end. Rodionov on Cabrera. Alvarez. Correa. Bit lucky then. Herrera takes over. Wasted ball. And suddenly Litovchenko saw Higuita almost inevitably out of his goal mouth and tried to find the target from an awful long way away. But Higuita does invite that kind of opportunism. Now this could be dangerous. And suddenly Iguaran has a chance to score. And well, one of the oldest and most experienced players in the Colombian team, Arnaldo Iguaran, who scored no fewer than 4 of their 6 goals, remember, in the qualifying competition in the World Cup. Really could have done a lot better then. And from whichever angle you see this, as the defender slipped to allow Iguaran in, he got into a good position, but the shot at the end of it was not too clever. So we stay at 0-0. And the Soviet Union back in possession with Yaremchuk. But suddenly it's Rincon breaking down the right for Colombia. Big, strong player. He really forced his way through then. And the crowd loved that little goal by Iguaran. With the ball out of play. But a livelier start to this second half than most of what we saw in the opening 45 minutes. Kuznetsov now for the Soviets. Rodionov lets it run on and then gets the ball from Protasov. And then gives it back to Kov. Still Cherenkov. Gomez is the defending player. And did it come off him? It did. Corner. Nil-nil between the USSR and Colombia here in the Los Angeles Coliseum, venue of the 1984 Olympic Games. Vasily Rats with the corner for the Soviet Union. Rodionov with a header, and then it comes to Protasov. Good challenge, though, by Pereira. Alvarez rode his luck a little bit then, or rather Cabrera did, and then was fouled by Tishenko. Gomez. Alvarez. Well, they overdid it a little bit, which they tend to do sometimes, the Colombians. This is Protasov for the Soviets. 4 defenders around him, and he still managed to make the cross. And Higuita just palmed it clear. Guerrero. Play by Guerrero. Crowd enjoyed that one. Tishenko beaten this time by Guerrero, but did well his job and won the ball back. Enormous kick by Chanov, but Pereira was right underneath it. I think the referee might have given an offside decision then, as the ball came through to Oleg Protasov. Gone back well by Zigmantovic for the Soviets. Yaremchuk forcing it through to Rodionov. And the long-range effort was never really going to bother Higuita. Rodionov's not really been too sharp today. Soviets look rather at, well, quarter pace. They've got a free kick now for a foul by Herrera. Back by Pereira. Guerrero. Forward again by Herrera. But the Soviets pressing up more on Colombia. That was a clumsy sort of clearance. Oops. Goalkeeper came, thought about it and changed his mind. But he does seem to get away with things, Higuita. Protasov with the final effort. Still Colombia 0, USSR. You're watching the Marlboro Cup, the opening match of it in Los Angeles. I was mentioning in the first half that the Colombians had had some useful results internationally in recent years. Those 2 draws against England and Scotland, both in Great Britain. And last year they beat Peru 1-0 and Argentina 1-0 as well, and got a 0-0 draw against Brazil. So they've proven themselves to be a very good side against some of the top teams in the world. And the Soviets certainly would be numbered in that kind of description, of course. Here's Yaremchuk. That's a foul. And having said that about Colombia, they have proved themselves to be inconsistent. There was another international tournament, you may remember, recently in Miami, and that time the Colombians lost 2-0 to Uruguay and only managed to beat the United States on penalties, as we see Herrera's foul on Yaremchuk again. Rats with the free kick. Well, take your pick. There was at least 4 players in an offside position. Certainly the Soviets weren't too intelligent then. Still 0-0. 18.5 minutes gone in the second half. Whoops, Pereira slips and gets away with it. Kuznetsov's header. Back again from Cabrera. Good play now. Iguaran tried to set Radin free, but a goal kick. And it looks as though both teams are about to make a substitution now. Valdez, nearest to the camera, Luis Valdez. And I think the other Soviet substitute was Tatarchuk. And Yaremchuk's the man coming off, and indeed it is Tatarchuk, wearing number 12, who will place. Luis Valdez will be coming on for the Colombians. Vladimir Tatarchuk. Colombians don't seem to have decided yet who's coming off. Now they have. It's Radin, in fact. Bernardo Radin, the number 10. And Luis Valdez takes his place. So the Soviets have made 2 substitutions now. The Colombians 1. A little under 25 minutes remaining. Kuznetsov for the Soviet Union. Score is 0-0. Protasov dispossessed. Guerrero forward. Useful ball. Iguaran. And still Iguaran. And that's a corner. A chance. Zigmantovic on Iguaran. Easy for the other substitute, Tishenko, to head clear. No real challenge from the Colombians. Difficult to gain any real clues from this match as to the likely strengths of either team, frankly, for the World Cup. It's a competitive match, of course, but I'm certain there's a lot more to come from both teams when it really matters in Italy in the summer. Alvarez. Cabrera. It's a nice ball. Gomez on the left. And they do enjoy anything that smacks of a bit of magic on the ball. The Colombians. Forward by Pereira. It's a nice ball and all for Herrera. Cabrera. Given away. Ooh, and that's a foul, certainly. Cabrera, in his attempts to win the ball back, went in very high. And looks as though the referee is about to administer the 3rd caution of the match. Cabrera can't really complain. He went in very high there. So 2 Colombians and a Soviet player go into the referee's notebook. And the referee still hasn't had to use his pencil to record a goal. It's 0-0. Rincon. Alvarez. Litovchenko with a long ball. The second substitute, Tatarchuk, who hasn't been able to touch it yet, unable to reach that through ball. Herrera concedes the corner. And a reminder of the scoreline. To come in this competition, Costa Rica and Chivas Guadalajara from Mexico. Ooh, that was a terrific save by Higuita. It really was. Well, he may do the unusual and at times the downright foolish, but when it came to a real round effort, Higuita proved himself more than equal. And a fine effort it was too by the tall Zigmantovic. And the Soviets press again. And Higuita's equal to them again. Herrera. Tatarchuk. And off Pereira for a Soviet throw. Rodionov to take it. Tatarchuk couldn't keep it in. No, it's a goal kick. One back by Pereira. Cabrera did well. Good close control by Cabrera. He looks a useful player. Gave Rincon a lot to do to keep it in play, though. And just helped back by Kuznetsov. Chanov, the goalkeeper. Certainly a good kicker of the ball. Proves he's pretty accurate at throwing it as well. Offside Rodionov. Pereira's already taken it. Now Gomez in possession. One back in the middle. And, oh, the whistle was from the crowd. One or two of the players stopped and hesitated for a moment. The referee did whistle the second time. Free kick to Colombia. In it already, but the referee didn't see it. And as you can hear, there is a spectator, most confusingly, using a whistle. Well, it fell very invitingly for Cherenkov. And that's a throw to the Soviets as well. So as the watch ticks on, it's looking increasingly possible that this game could be decided on penalties. Remember, if the scores are level at the end of 90 minutes, then each team will be awarded the statutory 5 penalties. And should the score still be level at the end of them, it will be a sudden death penalty shootout. Alvarez with the foot rather high and attempting to win off Litovchenko. Free kick to the Soviet Union. The ball played quickly forward to Cherenkov. Good little ball on the right as well to Rodionov. And well won back. A couple of spectacular tackles, which the crowd were lifted to applaud, and then lifted out of their seats to retrieve the ball for this Soviet throw. And still the Soviets press, looking for a winning goal, which would remove the need to have those penalties. Cross by Rats, beaten away, and it's a throw in to the Soviets. Protasov forward, but rather aimlessly and easy for Higuita. Higuita, incidentally, actually takes penalties as well, so if it does go to a penalty shootout, he'd be involved, and here he is on one of those renowned dribbles out of his own penalty area. Well, if it comes off, but it doesn't. if it doesn't. He's an awful long way from defending the goal. Alvarez. Pereira. Rincon chasing away here with the Rats, and I think he fouled the Soviet man. Tatarchuk. Good run by the substitute, and he fouled Cabrera when he knew that he'd lost possession. And then another foul on Rincon. Cabrera trying to indicate to the referee that it would have been better from the point of view of the Colombians if he'd just let play go on then. But Rats have already made the tackle, and as you can see, he becomes the player in the match to be cautioned for that challenge. So 2 cautions per team. Here's Pereira. What a terrible ball, straight to Tatarchuk, and a useful one for Rodionov to chase here. And still Rodionov, and he's done well. And so is the goalkeeper. 1 or 2 of his defenders stood in a appeal for offside, and suddenly Colombia break at the other end. Well, certainly Higuita was a better goalkeeper than you sometimes might imagine from his antics, and he proved it then. But Rodionov probably should have scored. But here's Rincon. Good little ball as well for Guerrero. And still Guerrero. Oh, and China had a lot of trouble dealing with that. And suddenly the game burst into life with chances at both ends of the field, and they're not gone yet, perhaps. Guerrero. And the Soviets finally play their way out of trouble. Good football as well. And back it goes to that man, Rodionov again. And again, Higuita doing the unusual, but doing it very effectively. Rodionov. Tatarchuk. Tishenko. On from Litovchenko. And certainly the pace of the game really picked up in the last few minutes, as both teams go for a winner. And in this half, the Soviets have looked the more likely to score. However, it's still 0-0. That was a clumsy ball. Guerrero did well. And Iguaran just had the ball taken off his toes by Luzny. Tatarchuk. He wants it back and gets it back. Now Rodionov. Trying for handball then by Herrera. Not given. Pereira. And once again the Colombians give it away rather carelessly and get it back. Good throw forward by Higuita. Litovchenko. Straight at Mendoza. Well, it's almost as though somebody has signalled to both teams that it was time they really got their finger out and made this a more entertaining game, and they certainly have done so in this second half. Been played at a much quicker pace than the first. Cleared by Herrera. Back in from Protasov. And he'll get it back from the substitute. And Tishenko couldn't keep it in play, or rather couldn't make the cross, and Herrera did keep it in play. Played forward by Luis Valdez. Now Pereira. And a lot of Soviet pressure here in the closing moments of this match. Litovchenko in possession. Tishenko forward, off against Tatarchuk. Quick break on, but the ball not quite good enough. As we move into the closing moments, still no goals between the Soviet Union and Colombia in this opening match of the second MOL competition. Luis Valdez for Colombia. Nice play. Still going. And brought down. Free kick in a useful position here. Blatant foul by Luzny. Most of these supporters would love to see Rincon score here, but he hits it straight at the wall. And Chanov quite equal to the danger. Litovchenko forward. Now Higuita again takes a risk and again gets away with it. Or does he? He's still out of his goal here. Now the Soviets just couldn't get the ball back towards the penalty area quickly enough. Rodionov, good skill. Good ball as well. And Higuita knew exactly where that was going and knew it was going wide from Tishenko. Referee, I think, suggesting to Higuita he's perhaps wasting a bit of time. Certainly didn't want to take the goal kick, whatever his reason. By Mendoza. And it really does look now as though we might be getting that penalty shootout, which is always, well, depending on your viewpoint, an exciting or an unsatisfactory way of deciding a football match. But certainly in a competition of this nature, I don't think anyone would complain that it was unsatisfactory. Obviously, in this short-term tournament, there's no time for replays. The game has to be decided here straight away. And it might be yet in open play. That was a foul surely though by Iguaran. Free kick has been given. Tatarchuk for the Soviets. Luis Valdez. Herrera with the throw now. Nice little ball from Rincon. Luis Valdez. And now Alvarez. Gomez is on the left. Iguaran forward. And I suspect at this stage both teams would really rather settle for the penalty shootout. Tatarchuk for the Soviets. Cherenkov under pressure, does well to win the throw. And Cherenkov again. finding Tishenko, who was quite happy to help it all the way back to Viktor Chanov. Luzny. Tishenko. And some of the amateur referees in the crowd whistling. It looks like the Soviets are going to make a substitution, and on my watch there's only about a minute to go. So I can perhaps only assume that Igor Kolivanov, who's number 14, is a useful penalty taker. Perhaps the Soviets are making sure they've got a good spot kick player on. Luzny coming off. He doesn't look to be injured. It would seem rather late in the game to make a tactical substitution. Bit of confusion as the referee whistled then for the throw. I think a lot of people thought that the match had finished. It hasn't quite. There are only second. Thumped forward by Herrera. And there indeed is the final whistle from referee Bratsis, and the match between the Soviet Union and Colombia ends in a goalless draw after 90 minutes. And the rules of the competition now dictate that there will be a penalty out to decide the winners. In accordance with the normal FIFA rules, captains will meet as coach Maturana of Colombia just helps his players to sort out who will be taking the penalties. Captains will meet, the coin will be tossed to see who takes the first penalty. So Kuznetsov of the Soviet Union on the right comes forward, and Perea of Colombia. And I think they're indicating that Kuznetsov indicating that the Soviet team is quite happy to let Colombia take the first penalty. There will be 5 to each side, and if there's no conclusion at the end of those 5 per team, then it will be sudden death. And indeed the Soviets have opted, by the looks of it, to defend for the first penalty. Viktor Chanov takes his place in goal, and I wonder what the erratic talents of René Higuita, the Colombian goalkeeper, will produce in this situation. He's a real showman. He'll no doubt relish it. Alexis Mendoza with the first penalty for Colombia against Viktor Chanov. And at last the ball hits the back of the net, and that's 1-0 to Colombia. And hit with real authority by Mendoza. To the goalkeeper's right, high into the net. Protasov, the Soviet player coming forward, Oleg Protasov, scored a couple of goals in the World Cup qualifying tournament for them. And a really experienced goal scorer. This situation will no fears for him. And duly dispatched into an almost identical place. 1-1 on penalties. Must be a huge relief when you've taken your penalty and it's safely in the net. And he sent Higuita the wrong way. Now Guerrero, it looks like, for the second penalty. Miguel Guerrero. 1-1 at the moment. Colombia's second penalty. Two-1 to Colombia. For Guerrero. And that's a great penalty, right in the corner. Chanov had no hope of reaching it. Now Litovchenko, experienced player with over 50 international caps to his credit, and was actually top goal scorer in the Soviet World Cup qualifiers with 3 goals. Oh, but he's missed it, and that was a poor penalty. Well, it'll go down officially as a save by Higuita, but really Litovchenko hit that with no authority at all, side-footed, and he could pat the ball away, Higuita. Not a good penalty at all. And that would favour the lobby, who think you should power penalties rather than try and place them. So it's still 2-1. With both teams having had 2 penalties each now. And Freddy Rincon with the 3rd Colombian penalty. This could be important, and blasted home for 3-1. Well, that puts a lot of pressure now on the next Soviet penalty taker. He's got to really score to keep the Soviets alive. Be Rodionov, who ironically missed a couple of good chances in the match itself. Rodionov against Higuita. Oh, and high into the net. That's a superb penalty for 3-2. Well, Rodionov did the business when it mattered in the shootout, even if he didn't score from 1 or 2 good openings in the match. And now Cabrera. 3-2 the scoreline to Colombia on penalties. After the 90 minutes had ended 0-0. Cabrera with the next one for Colombia. Oh, it was saved by Chanov. So it's still 3-2. The first miss by a Colombian player, Wilmer Cabrera. That was a good save, actually, because it was reasonably well hit. He didn't really power it, but it was quite accurately placed towards the corner. And Chanov palmed it clear. So Colombia leading 3-2 now on penalties. And the substitute, the man who we believe might have come on just to take this penalty, Kolivanov. Oh, well, if he did, it wasn't exactly the greatest technical move by the Soviets, because he's missed it. Kolivanov misses it. That's the second miss from the spot, and that means it's still 3-2, and by my calculations that means that the next penalty for Colombia could decide this match. Because this one could give them an unbeatable 4-2. Who's taking it? René Higuita, the goalkeeper. Well, he will really savour this moment if he can score against his opposite number, Viktor Chanov. And he has taken penalties before. Yes, he's done it. Higuita has scored the vital penalty, and that means that Colombia have beaten the Soviet Union in the penalty shootout. And the goalkeeper, who's done so much to keep his side alive with a few very good saves, has actually clinched it from the spot. 4-2 on penalties. And straight into the first interview for Colombian radio as well. So, the charismatic figure of René Higuita has got the headlines again. Nothing wrong with that. And I suppose if a goalkeeper doesn't know how to take them against another goalkeeper, then no one does. But knowing what to do and doing it, 2 different things. So we move on to the next match. Costa Rica against Chivas de Guadalajara, the Mexican club team. Look out in your local listings to see when exactly you can watch coverage of that match. Match number 2 in the Marlboro Cup. But we leave you with the moment of satisfaction for Rene Higuita, the goalkeeper, turned goal scorer of his spot. The vital kick that means Colombia have beaten the Soviet Union. Goodbye.